Episode 2, Gifts from the Dead. 252 million years ago, the Permian-Triassic extinction event occurred, killing nearly everything on the Earth. 96% of all marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrates were wiped out. The nature of the killer remains unknown as of this podcast's production, though there is a growing body of evidence suggesting that an impact event may have been the culprit. 66 million years ago, an impact event almost certainly was the culprit of a much less lethal, yet much better known extinction event, the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, formerly known as the Cretaceous-Tertiary or KT extinction. The event that wiped out the dinosaurs, as well as just about every obligate carnivore or herbivore of the time period. The prehistoric Earth saw a rhythmic sequence of mass dyings, and each beat of that rhythm left the beds of its oceans littered with dead organisms. Largely inaccessible to bacteria that might have broken them down, these massive organic matter, much like the husks of the lepidodendrons of Episode 1, were left to be buried under sediment. But, unlike the ancient fern giants, the remains of the aquatic victims of the terrible song of extinction were soaked in hydrogen-rich water molecules and subjected to even greater temperatures and pressures than that which had eventually compressed forest into coal. The dead were squeezed and cooked to the point of liquefaction, creating great reservoirs of hydrocarbons, what we know today as petroleum or crude oil. In terms of discoveries with profound impact on human life, petroleum is second to none. It is incredibly energy dense at an approximately 45 megajoules per kilogram or 5,900 megajoules per barrel, varying depending on crude grade. A horse driving a plow 40 hours a week would generate the same energy as contained in a barrel of oil in just over 12 months, assuming it worked without ever having a reprieve from this labor schedule. There are certainly even more energy-dense commodities that have been discovered since petroleum, uranium and thorium for example, but nothing with the abundance, stability, or perhaps most importantly, apparently waste-free properties of Texas tea. It may as well have been waste-free anyway. Refine it into fuel, burn the fuel. The waste product goes out as an exhaust and into the sky. Invisible, odorless, and, so long as additives haven't been mixed in, non-toxic. What magic. The abundance of its cheap energy, with invisible environmental costs, has led to such widespread adoption of petroleum that even though its overall carbon footprint is half the size of that of coal, it presents a much larger problem than coal, because the dividends from its exploitation are what maintain the structural integrity of most of Western civilization. The assumption of the availability of petroleum-scale energy, as well as petroleum-derived and or petroleum-impacted economic activity, which is probably just about all economic activity in the West, is baked into the life of most of the public. This is our monkey's paw, used with far too much frivolity, hubris, and desperation before we fully understood the nature of it. A significant contingent of the larger conversation surrounding this collective mistake even dare suggest that we resurrect the blissful ignorance of the past in order to move forward. There's a demand to have innocence returned to us, indulging in the invisibility of petroleum's primary byproduct, ignoring the consequences. There is plainly a knocking on humanity's door as a result of this suggestion. So we stand here with a choice. Reject a comforting deception and banish what has come to haunt us, or surrender to our wants and allow it into our home. I hope every day for the former action.